Hey everyone, Dan Bernard here with another tutorial, and today I'm going to be continuing the series on Adobe Audition Basics. This will be part 3 in the series, and today I want to talk about markers. Markers are a wonderful tool that can be used in any program that it's offered to speed up your workflow significantly. I use markers all the time, and I use them in whatever application offers them. And Adobe Audition is certainly no exception. First, I want to talk about the different types of markers. If you go to Edit, Marker, you see that you have a number of options available to you as to what type of marker you want to put down. The most common of these, of course, is the Q marker, keyboard shortcut M. Q markers are great for just remembering a certain place in your project. A subclip marker is especially useful when you're working with subclips, and those markers translate to subclips in Adobe Premiere Pro as well. Adding a CD track marker, keyboard shortcut Shift M, this option is obviously used when you are putting down tracks onto a CD. If you're working within a project that's going to be burned to a CD, this is especially useful. And then a cart timer marker is a type of marker that's specifically used in the radio industry. These markers use very specific naming conventions and can be written into your audio's metadata. Moving on to the navigation and organization part of using markers, we have the rename selected marker, keyboard shortcut / delete selected markers, Control-0, delete all markers, Control-Alt-0. Make sure you're real careful when using that one. And then, of course, navigating between markers using Alt and the left or right arrow keys. Now that we understand the different types of markers and the navigation options within them, let's see them in action. I find using markers especially useful when I'm going through a long piece of audio like this. For example, this is a voiceover that I did for a project a while back. And let's say I just want to find the really good takes and place markers to indicate where those takes are in my project. I'm in the waveform editor here, and I'm just looking at this one file. Now, let's say I really like this particular take of this audio right here.
Today is her birthday.
Now, if I go up here and I grab my time selection tool, keyboard shortcut T, I'm just going to click and drag and make a selection there. And then I'm going to hit M to add a Q marker. Now, what you'll notice here is in the markers window here, you'll see that a marker has been placed. It has a start, an end, and a duration. And that duration is the exact amount of time of the selection that I made before. Now, what's great about this is that means that I can quickly get to that particular take very quickly by just double clicking on the marker here in the marker window. Now, for organizational purposes, of course, you're going to want to rename that. So let's click on this or hit keyboard shortcut / and I'll rename this take 1 and then hit enter to make an edit to that marker name. And you'll see that that marker name has now been applied and viewable up here. Now that I have that place marked out with the appropriate duration, I can just carry on. Go through, make other selections of takes that I like, hitting M, and then coming over here, hitting /. I'm going to name that take 2, and just keep going, and I don't have to stop working. But let's say I get toward the end here, and I find another take of take 1 that actually works better. I need to go back to take 1 and delete that marker. So I can double click here, which will instantly take me there, and I can hit the trash can button to get rid of it. But you want to make sure that you hit keyboard shortcut G to remove that selection from your timeline. Now, to quickly get back to where I was over by take 3, I can hold down Alt and hit the right arrow key, or I can just simply double click and there it is and it's instantly selected. Let's say I've marked out the takes that I like, and now I want to export those selections as separate files. Well, that's a wonderful tool available to you in the markers window. You just drag and highlight all the takes that you want to export, and you go over here to this button here, which says export audio of selected range markers to separate files. Clicking on that button will bring up this dialog window where you can change the parameters of the name, prefix, postfix, where those files will live, as well as the format to whatever you want. And then when you hit export, all of those markers will now be individual files that you can bring back in and sweeten to your liking. Let's talk about some of the other tools available in the markers window. For the remainder of these, you'll need to have multiple markers selected. Let's say I want to keep this whole piece of audio here. I can do what I did before, make a selection, hit M, and now I have this whole piece marked. But let's say that I didn't use the selection method and I just have two markers at the beginning and at the end. Well, if I click and shift click the next one to select that marker below it, I have marker 14 and 15 selected. And now I can hit this button here, merge selected markers, and boom. I now am utilizing the in point of marker 14 and the end point of marker 15. And I have one marker that spans the entire length of those two markers. Another option available when you have multiple markers selected in your window is this here. It inserts selected range of markers into a playlist. So if I click that, you'll see that the playlist dialog box comes up here down at the bottom, and I can quickly play those selections from this playlist window. And this might be useful to maybe double check the in and out points of your markers before you hit that export audio of selected range markers to separate files button. Another beautiful thing about markers in Adobe Audition is you can select these multiple markers here in my waveform editor, hit this button here, and those markers, including the start, end, and duration information, will all translate to my multitrack session. And now you can see that those selected markers that I exported to my multitrack session have been put into a new track, and the in, out, and duration of all of them are exactly the same. It's also worth noting that while in multitrack mode, all of the same options are available, including making selections, hitting M, being able to export those markers as individual files provided they have a start, end, and duration point, adding to playlist, merge. Those options are all the same between waveform and multitrack mode. But let's say I used a different naming convention between those two modes. I'm using different names in my waveform editor than I am for my multitrack editor. What's great is if you go into your markers window and hit this button right here, show markers of all files, that means any markers that I've made within this project will be available for me, not only to find on my own, but also to search using this convenient search bar here. So there you have it. That's all of the marker tools and options available at your disposal in Adobe Audition CC. I hope this gives you a new understanding and hopefully opens up a new world of navigation and organization for your workflow. If you like this video, go ahead and give me a thumbs up. Let me know. If you have any questions or comments on anything that I've covered here, please leave them in the comment section below. And to make sure that you don't miss any upcoming parts in my Adobe Audition Basics series, hit that subscribe button. Once again, my name is Dan Bernard, and thanks for stopping by.